Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, I've mentioned several times on here, and other YouTubers have mentioned it as well. It's quite a well-known phenomenon, and that is the demographic time bomb. Now, what's happening is the world is getting older. We, as a race, a species, are not having nearly enough children to replace those of us that are here already and getting older. Now, in some countries, such as South Korea, this is already a thing. It is a major, major problem. Japan, as well, is experiencing this problem. And that is you're going to have an ever-increasing number of old people, pensioners, being paid for by an ever-decreasing number of young people. Because even if they started breeding now at a replacement rate of 2.1, there would still not be enough people for when certainly the boomers are probably okay, and us Gen Xers are probably okay. So anyone who's about 50 or above or thereabouts will probably be okay, because there is enough people below us just about to sustain. But the millennials, the Gen Zs, they're all deeply, deeply in trouble. Now, one of the problems you have is, if you're a politician, you must always look to maximise your vote in order to maintain power. But you know pensions are unsustainable. So you have that problem. The only way to do this is to reduce pensions. Either make the value of the pension lower, or make the pensionable age higher, or, where we have the case here with the triple lock, remove the triple lock so that they don't rise according to your manifesto promise. And you go, phew, we can do that, we can stave it off a bit, and we can afford the pensions a little bit longer. The only problem you have is you've just annoyed the biggest cohort there is. The older people, who are increasingly growing in numbers. And so any political party that attacks the pension system is going to find itself out of power very, very quickly. It is a real catch-22. And so I see this from the lens of affordability, but I also see it from the political lens of, how do you square this circle? How can you reduce the nation's pension costs without annoying the pensioners? It's very difficult. But we're going to take a look at this article, because Lord Haig, as he is, has basically sparked a lot of backlash by saying that the triple lock is unsustainable. And I'm afraid it's one of those occasions where he's technically right, but it'll be a brave MP or brave MPM or whatever, brave Chancellor, who actually tackles it. Anyway, here we go, we'll have a look. So, triple lock fury after Lord Haig attacks the unsustainable lifeline for British pensioners. Now, you've got to say, this isn't a Tory problem. It happens to be a Tory government at the moment. It's not going to be a Tory problem, and it's not going to be a Labour problem. It's going to be a societal problem, regardless of who the government is. This is going to be a problem. It's not going to be a problem now. It's going to be a problem 10 to 15 years down the line. In about 10 to 15 years, it's really going to be a problem, because that's when the Gen Xers all start to retire. Now, the boomers are retired, but the boomers were the biggest cohort. They're the ones that, after the war, huge numbers. So when they entered the workforce in the mid-60s, boom, the economy boomed, and so everything was there, and everyone was working, everyone was consuming, the money was there, the tax take was high because of all these people, and the system could pay for itself. The boomers didn't have as many children. They had quite a lot of children. They didn't have as many children. They had us Gen Xers. Now, our Gen Xers, we weren't as numerous as the boomers, but we were, in the entire history of the world, the highest earners. And so, although we weren't as many, our tax take was actually slightly larger. And that's great too, because it means that the tax is there to carry on paying the pensions upward. And of course, all the Gen Xers have supplied all this money all the way through, because now you've got like the millennials, the Gen Zers, they don't earn as much. Now the millennials will be the biggest inheritors in history, but there's not as many of them, so you haven't got that width of tax taking, and they're not highly paid, so you don't have that depth of tax paying, and so the tax take is going to reduce like that. And they're not consumers, there's not as many of them consuming, so you're not getting consumption taxes. There's not as many of them working, so you're not getting income taxes. Meanwhile, everyone else is getting older and needing more care, and so the tax bills, the cost to the country are going up. But how do you square this circle with having this reduced tax take? It is a problem that is keeping economists and philosophers awake at night. But you currently have in the UK the triple lock, so it's either 2.5% average wages or CPI inflation. And whichever is the highest is the one. And it will bankrupt the country, because in time 60%, maybe 60% of the people in this country will be retired of current retirement age. So you're going to have to up the retirement age, and it is the only way. But like I say, it will be a very, very brave Chancellor who does that. Anyway, campaigners advised Tory... we'll get into it. Campaigners criticised Tory grandee William Hague after he labelled the pension lock unsustainable, which it is. Lord Hague's comments sparked fury among charities who said older people are struggling with food and energy bills, and it comes after the former Labour Home Secretary Lord Blunkett said the older generation would need to pay its fair share. Now, I will point out as well that currently the younger people are paying into private pensions, so not state pensions when they're older, and I think eventually that will have to increase, and they'll have to make more provision for themselves in time. Slowly, 0.5% every few years, a little bit more, just a little bit more as time goes on, and just to make those provisions for old age, and then effectively let the state pension wither on the vine, and all your pensions become your own personal pensions, and that way that then relieves the pension cost. It doesn't relieve the care cost, but it does at least relieve the pension cost off the taxpayers. Lord Hague, a close ally of Rishi Sunak, said, "I would not expect at the coming election the political parties to say they're going to do away with the triple lock, but it is unsustainable over time." Dennis Reid, director of the over 60s campaign Silver Voices, said these drip, drip, drip attacks on the triple lock are intolerable and very stressful and debilitating for older people struggling with rocketing food and energy prices. Yeah, I mean, food and energy prices have gone up horrendously, but the pensions haven't gone up even close to the price of food increase. So even with we've got a 10% rise in pension this year because of the triple lock. People are still worse off than they were a year ago. So it is worrying, Anyway, he said older statesmen like Lord Hague and Blunkett should know better than to court headlines in this way. And Jan Short, General Secretary of the National Pensioners Convention, said there are those in our government who want to get rid of the lock completely, exposing many more people to hardship. It's time for them to stop stressing older people out with the threat of axing the triple lock and start engaging in genuine debate on pensions. And they're just telling us what the triple lock is there. But basically what he's saying, it's only a short piece, but I thought it was fair, is that it is going to be unsustainable in terms of time in years to come. It is, but fortunately you can take action now. You can increase the share of which your salary goes into your pension provision. Doesn't have to be much, tiny bits, and get them young. 16, 17-year-olds going into the workplace, bang, all the way up to the end. By that time, it will have grown sufficiently. There will be enough there. And then just as time goes on, you let the actual pension, the state pension, wither on the vine. Nobody receiving a pension should ever lose it. But, you have it a point, you have a cut-off point. Changing, as every year, the cut-off point changes. Say every 3 years, the cut-off comes down one and things like that. So it's a very slow, gradual process, allowing for the younger people who are coming up to more than adequately pay their own provision. It's the only way I think it's going to be done. I mean, once all the old people are dead, I mean, you know, you're talking in another 60 years. In 60 years, you'll be fine again, because all the old people will be dead, and you'll have this cohort will be smaller. All the cohorts will be smaller, but you won't have this mushrooming at the top, which you're going to have for at least the next sort of 40 to 50 years, which will have to be paid by the young people today. It's horrible, but it's true. But if they can be prepped up, then they won't hit the same problems. Anyway, I shall finish there and come up. It was only a short piece, and I thought, you know, it's not often I agree with him, but on this particular one, he is actually right. Once you understand the whole problem we're going to have with the population and the depopulation, because of the young people just not being there. Anyway, come up, round off. I mean, if this was to be dropped and put in place in, like, right, cut off, boom, end of old system, start a new system, it would be horrific. It would be a terrible, terrible thing. It would destroy an awful lot of lives. But I think if you look at the problem and you do it very, very gradually, very small steps over a very long period of time, then it can be incrementally went, you know, 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 until they meet. And I think then if you do that, it will be absolutely fine. If you bring people along on that journey, tell them the truth. Explain to them why this is necessary. Don't just say this is necessary and then expect them to believe you, because people don't. You're a politician. We all know you lie. But explain what the problems are. Show them the graphs. Show them the problems. And then show them the solution. And show how the solution will take a long time. And no one person will be overly heavily burdened, because it's every few years. It just changes a little bit, changes a little bit, changes a little bit. And everyone will be fine and fair with it. We know the world is changing. The world is always changing. But this is the first time in the world where we've had... It's not the first time. It's the first time in 500 years, 600 years, where we've had a depopulation on the same scale as the Black Death. Europe is going to lose a third of its population. The world is going to lose a third of its population. It is like the Black Death all over again. It's horrific. The only difference is it's only just people carking it. It's not disease. It's not the Black Death. It is just people growing old and dying of normal things. Dying of all the things they die of today. But they're just going to have this cohort all going at once. That will be busy. But anyway, there we go. There is a solution. It's just got to be brave to do it. Anyway, I'll stop there. Thank you very much. It's a very different video, this one. But I just thought it needed to be explained. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Bye.